In the quiet hours, when the world rests and the sky folds itself into deep blue silence, your heart may wake before your body does, trembling with a fear you cannot name, breathing faster than your thoughts, wondering why 3 a.m. feels like a doorway to everything overwhelming. Yet tonight, as you settle into this gentle story, let your breathing soften, let your shoulders lower, let your spirit know that something holy is drawing near, because the Lord has walked with people in the night since the beginning of time, and this story carries a peace strong enough to still any trembling heart, even yours, even now. So rest in these words as though they were a warm blanket being drawn over your soul, and let the presence of God settle around you like soft light. There was a night long ago when a trembling heart awakened in the darkness, not with a scream or a cry, but with a quiet gasp that held everything he feared. Jacob, alone beneath the stars, felt the night pressing against him like a weight, the desert winds whispering uncertain things, shadows shifting with every thought that rose inside him. He had spent years running from the consequences of his past, running from the brother he deceived, running from the heaviness of guilt that clung to him even when he tried to sleep. And that night, as he lay with only a stone for a pillow, his chest tightened the way yours sometimes does when fear arrives uninvited at 3 a.m. He tried to close his eyes, but the silence felt too loud, too sharp, too full of everything unresolved. Yet it was in that very hour, the hour when fear is strongest and strength feels smallest, that heaven gently opened above him, without warning, without expectation, without any reason except love. Jacob saw a ladder stretching from the earth to the sky, with angels ascending and descending in gentle beauty, their movements like waves of light drifting in the night. And above the ladder was the voice of God, not stern, not angry, but tender, steady, calm, a voice that carried peace deeper than breath. And God said, "I am with you. I am keeping you. I am holding your future. I will not leave you." These words poured through Jacob like warm oil, soothing the fear that had wrapped around his heart. And as he listened, something inside him loosened, something he didn't even know was clenched. Because in that moment Jacob realized that what he feared most could not outrun the God who loved him most. He realized that no night is too dark for heaven to enter, no past too heavy for God to redeem, no hour too lonely for his presence to draw close. And beloved, you who are listening now, with your own breath unsteady, with your thoughts racing in the shadows, God speaks the same words over you here in this quiet hour. I am with you. I am keeping you. I will not leave you. The same presence that hovered over Jacob in the desert is hovering over you now, settling over your panic with holy gentleness, softening the sharp edges of fear, reminding you that you are never alone in the darkness, not even for a moment. Sometimes panic rises at 3 a.m. because the soul remembers its wounds more loudly in silence. Sometimes the enemy chooses that hour because he knows the body is tired and the mind more tender. But God is not intimidated by the hour. He is not delayed by the darkness. He is not absent from the room where you breathe and tremble. He draws closer in the night, not farther. And this story, whispered through the centuries, becomes a doorway for him to step softly into your fear, to settle beside you, to place peace upon your chest the way a parent places a hand over the heart of a frightened child. So let this truth wash through you now. Breathe slowly, gently, deeply. Feel the rhythm of grace weaving through your breath, and rest, because the one who guarded Jacob guards you still. watching over your life with the same promise. I will not leave you. I will bring you into peace. I will hold you until the trembling stops. As the night deepened around Jacob, the air cooled, and the stars shimmered like tiny lanterns scattered across the heavens, each one a quiet reminder that even in vast darkness, light is never absent. Jacob lay still, his breathing slowing, his trembling easing, his soul settling under the weightless warmth of God's promise. I am with you. I will keep you. And in that gentle nearness, the fear that once felt like a storm began to soften into something quieter. Jacob realized that the night had not changed. The desert had not changed. His circumstances had not changed, but his heart had. Because the presence of God changes the inner world before it ever changes the outer one. And beloved, the same miracle begins in you as you listen now, letting your breath melt into the rhythm of rest, letting the fear unclench its fingers from around your thoughts. The panic that wakes you at 3 a.m. often arrives like a sudden whisper of danger, a memory you didn't expect, a fear that feels real even when nothing around you has changed. It arrives like a shadow across your chest, making you wonder whether something is wrong, whether something is missing, whether you are safe. Yet God, who does not sleep, who does not grow weary, who does not step away from his children, is already present in that moment, already near, already placing his peace as close as your next breath. Because the night does not belong to fear. It belongs to the one who created light, the one who watches over your bed, the one who counts your tears and steadies your heartbeat. Jacob had been running for so long that he had forgotten what peace felt like. He had carried guilt like a pack on his shoulders, shame like a shadow that followed him everywhere. And perhaps you too have nights when old mistakes rise up, whispering your name, reminding you of seasons you wish you could undo. But God did not speak to Jacob after he had fixed everything, after he had apologized, after he had become perfect. God spoke to him while he was still broken, still unsure, still burdened. And that is how God speaks to you now. Not after you have cleaned up your fears, not after you have silenced your panic, not after you have become strong, but right here, right in the trembling, right in the breathless moment when you feel small and tired and overwhelmed. God meets you in the rawness of your humanity, not the polish of your perfection. So let the night feel different now. Let the darkness become a sanctuary instead of a threat. Let the stillness become a soft blanket instead of a hollow silence. Let your mind rest in the truth that God is not waiting for daylight to comfort you. He is the God of the dark hours too, the God who enters the quiet places where anxiety tries to take root, the God who walks through the corridors of your thoughts, shutting doors that fear opened, turning off the alarms that panic set ringing, the God who whispers peace until peace becomes the loudest voice in the room. Jacob awoke at dawn with a sense of wonder, a sense of being held, a sense that something holy had settled inside him. He rose, slowly, touched the stone that had been his restless pillow, and whispered words that echo through time. Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And beloved, that same truth settles over you now. Surely the Lord is in this room. Surely he is in your breath. Surely he is in your trembling. Surely he is here even when you did not feel him, even when the fear felt louder than faith, even when the night felt too heavy. You may not always feel God at 3 a.m., but feeling is not the measure of his presence. Promise is, and his promise has never changed. I will be with you in trouble. I will strengthen you. I will uphold you. I will keep you through the night and carry you into the morning. And as you listen to this gentle story, a holy stillness begins to wrap around you like soft fabric, reminding you that panic has no authority over a heart held by God. Fear has no dominion over a soul guarded by heaven. And darkness has no ability to hide you from the one who loves you. Let your breath slow again. Feel the weight of your body sinking into rest. Feel the panic uncoil. Feel the warmth of God's nearness rising quietly around you like dawn approaching the horizon. For God is not far, not distant, not delayed. He is here. And every part of you that trembles is known, understood, and loved by Him. Son. Jacob lingered in that sacred place, feeling the echo of God's promise settle into the deepest parts of him. A promise that did not erase his past, but wrapped it in mercy. A promise that did not remove every hardship from his path, but assured him he would never walk it alone. And as the gentle light of morning touched the edges of the desert, Jacob felt something new rising within him. A stillness he had never known, a peace not born of circumstances, but of presence. And beloved, as you listen now, that same peace begins to move quietly through you, soft as breath, steady as grace, reminding you that the God who met Jacob in the wilderness is the God who meets you in your bedroom, in your breathing, in your trembling moments. Panic often comes like a sudden gust, uninvited and unexplainable. It does not ask permission. It does not wait for a convenient hour. It simply arrives, slipping into the cracks of your thoughts, trying to convince you that something is deeply wrong. But panic is loud only because it is empty of truth. And the truth is that you are safe in God's hands, even when your body forgets. You are held in His presence, even when your mind grows restless. You are loved with a love that does not fluctuate with your emotions. A love steady as the sunrise, steady as the breath that keeps you alive even while you sleep. Jacob had expected the night to be filled with fear, loneliness, regret. But instead, he was visited by heaven, visited by the one who saw him long before he was born, who knew every detail of his heart, who understood the weight he carried. And you too are visited in the night, not by visions perhaps, not by ladders and angels, but by the presence of the Holy Spirit who hovers near you when you tremble, who stays by your bed when fear rises, who whispers peace into your deepest uncertainty. You are not invisible in your pain. You are not abandoned in the night. You are profoundly, entirely, eternally seen by God. Feel that truth now. Let it seep into the quiet spaces inside you. Let it soften the forgotten corners where fear has lived too long. You do not have to force calmness. You do not have to chase peace. Peace is a person, and He has already come close. He is with you in this moment, closer than the air, closer than the breath, closer than the trembling in your chest. He holds you with a gentleness far stronger than your fear. And just as Jacob's fear loosened its hold in the presence of God, your own fear begins to loosen now. Slowly, softly, quietly, like ice melting under warm light. The night may feel long, but it is not empty. God fills the night with His nearness. He fills the silence with His presence. He fills your weakness with His strength. And when your eyes close again, when your breathing settles, when your heart begins to feel warm again, it is because the one who never sleeps watches over you with a love that never fades. The panic does not define you. The fear does not own you. The night does not win. For the light of God's presence burns gently, even in the darkness, guiding you, holding you, guarding you. Jacob rose from that place, changed not because his circumstances were better, but because his heart had been touched by God. And you, beloved, are being touched now, in the stillness, in the quiet, in the breathing, in the listening. God is shaping peace within you, stitching it through the trembling places, weaving it through the worried thoughts, planting it deep where fear once lived. And this peace will follow you long after the story ends. It will lie beside you as you sleep. It will wake with you in the morning. It will quiet the hours when panic once felt powerful. For where God dwells, fear loses its voice. So rest now in the truth that has wrapped around you since the beginning of this story. You are not alone. You are not unprotected. You are not forgotten. The same God who comforted Jacob in the wilderness is comforting you now, in this sacred quiet, in this tender moment where heaven leans close to your trembling heart. Breathe gently, rest deeply, and let the peace of God settle upon you like soft rain falling on thirsty ground. Jacob continued his journey with a calmer heart, carrying the memory of that holy night like a soft flame burning quietly within him. And as he walked, each step felt steadier, not because the road grew easier, but because the promise of God traveled with him. The same promise that now settles gently into you as you listen, letting your breath fall into a slower rhythm, letting your mind ease its grip on the fears that try to rise in the dark. For the night is no longer a place of panic, but a place where God comes close, closer than thought, closer than fear, closer than the trembling that once shook you awake. There is a reason 3 a.m. feels heavy. It is the hour when the world is quiet, when distractions fade, when the heart is left alone with its thoughts, and sometimes the soul, aching from old wounds or carried burdens, whispers its fears too loudly. But God, who never sleeps, draws near in these quiet hours, not waiting for daylight to comfort his children. He steps into the places where fear tries to settle, into the soft darkness where panic rises, into the fragile moments when your thoughts run faster than your breath. And he lifts you gently, whispering the same truth. He whispered to Jacob, "I am with you. I will keep you. I will hold you through the night." Imagine Jacob walking, the desert stretching wide around him, the sun slowly climbing the sky. Imagine him remembering the sound of God's voice, the warmth of that promise, the softness that settled into him during the night, the same softness that now begins to settle into you. For God's voice does not fade with time, and his comfort does not weaken with distance. His peace wraps around you even now, flowing like quiet water through every strained thought, every anxious emotion, every moment when you feel small and uncertain. Panic comes quickly, like lightning suddenly flashing across the mind. But peace comes steadily, like dawn rising. It does not rush. It does not force. It simply grows, moment by gentle moment, spreading warm light into the hidden corners where fear once whispered. And as you breathe now, slowly and softly, you can feel that light rising within you. Subtle at first, then warmer, then steadier, easing the tension that once tightened your chest, loosening the worry that once spiraled through your thoughts, calming the trembling that once startled you awake. God does not wait for you to be unafraid before he comes close. He comes close to make you unafraid. His nearness is the antidote to panic, the remedy to restlessness, the anchor for the drifting heart. And even now, he is near, resting his peace upon you like a gentle hand over your heart, reminding you that you are safe, deeply safe, eternally safe, not because you are strong, but because he is, not because the night is harmless, but because he is present within it, not because your thoughts are quiet, but because his voice is steadier than every fear combined. As Jacob continued his journey, every step carried the memory of that night encounter. a reminder that God had chosen to meet him not in strength, but in weakness, not in daytime clarity, but in nighttime trembling. And beloved, God chooses to meet you in your trembling too, in your fragile moments, in your sleepless hours, in your breathless pauses when panic arrives uninvited. He enters those moments with tenderness, not rebuke, with presence, not pressure, with comfort, not condemnation. He whispers peace until peace becomes your resting place. So breathe again, slow and deep. Let the quiet fill you. Let the warmth of God's nearness embrace you. Let every fear weaken in the presence of His love. For the night is not your enemy. Fear is not your master. Panic is not the final voice. God is here, and His presence is stronger than every trembling thought. And as Jacob walked farther from the place where heaven touched earth, he found that something inside him had softened, not weakened, but softened the way soil softens before seeds begin to grow, the way a heart softens when it finally feels safe enough to breathe. And beloved, as you listen, that same softening begins within you, tender and slow, the quiet work of God easing the tension that has lived in you for too long. The tension that rises, especially at 3 a.m., when the world is still and your thoughts become louder than your heartbeat. Yet even now, in this gentle moment, God is loosening the grip of fear, untying the knots of anxiety, settling His peace like a warm breeze over your spirit. Jacob had never expected God to meet him in the wilderness. He had never imagined that the place of his fear would become the place of his comfort. Yet that is often how God works. He steps into the very places where we feel most vulnerable, most unsteady, most overwhelmed, and transforms them into holy ground, places of encounter, places of healing. And your nighttime hours, the ones once filled with panic, are becoming that kind of ground even now. Not because you forced the fear away, not because you made yourself strong, but because the presence of God has begun to rewrite the night, turning panic into peace, trembling into trust, fear into quiet rest. As Jacob traveled, he carried the weight of the unknown, his future uncertain, his relationships strained, his path unclear. And perhaps your life too holds questions you cannot answer, outcomes you cannot predict, burdens you cannot easily lay down. But God's promise was not a map. It was companionship. He did not tell Jacob every detail of what would come. He simply promised, "I am with you." And that promise was enough. It made the desert bearable, the journey manageable, the unknown less frightening. And the same promise is enough for you now. You do not need to know the future to rest tonight. You do not need to solve every problem before your breathing settles. You only need to know that God is with you, beside you, guarding you, holding you. Panic often rises because the mind tries to carry what it was never meant to hold alone. It tries to predict, to protect, to prepare for every possible worry, and the weight becomes too heavy for a tired heart at 3 a.m. But God steps into that quiet hour and gently lifts the burden from you, reminding you that you were never meant to hold everything together, that He holds you, your future, your steps, your story, and He holds them with a tenderness stronger than anxiety, stronger than fear, stronger than the night itself. Imagine Jacob's footprints in the sand, each one softer than the fear he carried the night before. Imagine the way his breathing steadied, the way his heart felt lighter, the way something sacred settled inside him. He did not walk alone anymore, and beloved, neither do you. With every breath you take right now, God is walking with you, step after gentle step. Every slow inhale invites his peace deeper. Every soft exhale releases a little more fear. And even if panic tries to rise again, it rises into a room already filled with God's presence, a presence far too strong, far too loving, far too steady for panic to stay. Jacob's journey was long, filled with twists and turns, challenges and blessings, uncertainties and miracles. And your journey is the same. Some days feel heavy, some nights feel longer than others, some moments feel too sharp for your heart. But just as God guided Jacob through every season, he guides you, not only in the daylight, but in the hours when the world is dim and quiet, when your heart needs the most reassurance, when your mind wanders into shadows, when your breath becomes uneven and your thoughts grow loud. He is there, always steady, always near. Feel his nearness now. Feel the warmth of his presence surrounding you like soft light. Feel the heaviness inside you begin to ease. Feel your breathing soften into a rhythm that invites rest. For God is not watching you from a distance. He is here, in this very moment, in this very breath. And the panic that once startled you awake loses its power in his presence. Slowly, gently, inevitably, like darkness retreating from dawn. So breathe again, slowly, gently, deeply. Let the night become a sanctuary, a place where God soothes you, holds you, comforts you. Let your body sink into rest. Let your thoughts soften. Let your spirit feel the warmth of his peace settling into every corner of your being. You are safe. You are held. You are loved. And the same God who transformed Jacob's night is transforming yours, whispering his promise into the quiet. I am with you. I am keeping you. I will never leave you. And as Jacob continued forward, each mile unfolding beneath his feet, the memory of that sacred night did not fade. It followed him like a quiet companion, like a soft lamp glowing inside his chest, reminding him with every breath that he was not alone. And beloved, the same quiet light begins glowing within you now, tender and warm, a whisper of peace rising where fear once lived. See? For the God who steadied Jacob's trembling is the God who steadies you. The one who saw Jacob lying in the dark with his fears swirling is the one who sees you now, breathing softly, letting these words sink deeper and deeper into the spaces that ache for comfort. Jacob did not know what awaited him ahead. His brother Esau, still lived somewhere beyond the horizon, and the memory of their broken relationship weighed on him. Perhaps you too have unresolved places in your heart, memories that surface in the quiet hours, worries that stir when the world grows still. But God's presence did not wait for Jacob's life to be sorted out. He came to him in the middle of the unresolved, the unfinished, the uncertain. He came not to condemn, but to comfort, not to remind him of his failures, but to promise a future woven with mercy. And that same mercy is reaching toward you now, threading itself through your thoughts, calming what once felt too heavy to bear. There is something about the stillness of night that invites old fears to whisper, the kind of whisper that says, "What if?" The kind that wakes you before dawn, the kind that tightens your chest without warning. But these whispers lose their authority when the voice of God becomes louder, gentler, steadier. His voice moves through the darkness like soft light, dissolving the shadows that once frightened you. His voice speaks into the raw places of your heart, saying, I am here. I am with you. I am your peace. Breathe. Rest. You are safe. Jacob learned to breathe differently after that night. His breaths became deeper, slower, steadier, not because his journey became simple, but because his trust became rooted. And now, you too begin to breathe differently, on each inhale carrying God's nearness, each exhale releasing another layer of fear, each quiet pause between breaths held gently in the hands of the one who never lets you fall. Imagine Jacob's footsteps pressing softly into the earth. Imagine the desert wind brushing over him, no longer a sound of loneliness, but a reminder of God's whisper. Imagine the way his thoughts softened, the way his body relaxed, the way peace became a companion instead of a visitor. And beloved, this same companionship is offered to you. Peace is not fleeting, not fragile, not temporary. Peace is a person, and he has drawn close to cradle your trembling heart. The journey ahead for Jacob was long, and yours may be too. There may be days ahead when fear tries to rise again, when worry presses against your chest, when the night feels too quiet. But the difference now is that you do not meet these hours alone. God has entered your night. He has stepped into your breathing. He has placed his presence between you and the panic that once startled you awake. And his presence is stronger than anything that comes against you. His presence reshapes the night, turning it from a place of alarm into a place of rest, from a place of fear into a place of whispered comfort. Panic often tells the heart that something is wrong, but God tells the heart that it is held. Panic shakes the mind, but God steadies it with his love. Panic tightens the breath, but God expands it gently, guiding it back into a rhythm of peace. And slowly, fear unravels in the warmth of his nearness. It cannot survive where love dwells. It cannot dominate where God rests. It cannot terrify a soul that is wrapped in divine comfort. Jacob's life would eventually lead him back to Esau, back to the place of fear, back to the relationship that held so much pain. But by the time he arrived, the man who once trembled in the night now walked with a heart strengthened by God's promise. And beloved, the places that once frightened you will someday feel different too, not because the memories disappear, but because God's presence transforms the way your heart carries them. He lifts the weight. He softens the fear. He fills you with something stronger, something deeper, something gentler than panic could ever be. Perhaps you have nights when your thoughts wander toward things you cannot control, toward worries about the future, about your health, your family, your purpose, your past. And the quiet of the night makes these worries feel larger, louder, heavier. But God enters that quiet and fills it with his own gentle sound, the sound of reassurance, the sound of presence, the sound of a love that does not abandon, a love that never shifts with circumstance, a love that stays beside you in every hour, especially the fragile ones. And as Jacob moved through the wilderness, each day unfolding like a slow turning page, he carried inside him a peace he did not fully understand, a peace that did not come from his own courage, but from the echo of God's voice still lingering in his soul. And beloved, that same peace begins to linger within you now, settling gently like dust carried on a soft breeze, quiet but steady, tender but strong. This peace is not fragile. It is not temporary. It is not dependent on perfect circumstances. It is the kind of peace that holds you even when your breath trembles, even when your thoughts wander, even when the night feels heavy. Jacob had been a man shaped by fear for so long. Fear of being found, fear of being rejected, fear of his past, fear of what might happen next. But after that night beneath the stars, fear no longer controlled him. It still whispered sometimes, still rose up in moments of uncertainty, still tried to disturb his rest. But the presence of God had left a deeper imprint, a gentler truth, a steadier foundation. And you too begin to feel that foundation forming beneath you, not made of stone or strength or willpower, but of God's nearness, His steady, unwavering nearness that stays beside you even when your heart shakes. Panic often appears like a sudden gust of wind, unexpected and forceful, sweeping through the quiet of your mind. But the peace of God moves differently. It comes like a slow dawn, softening the darkness, warming the edges of fear, filling the spaces panic once tried to claim. And as you listen, that dawn begins to rise inside you, little by little, moment by gentle moment, turning your fear into something quieter, something less threatening, something unable to hold power over your spirit. Jacob learned to walk with this peace, not because his journey became simple, but because his heart became companioned. And beloved, your heart is companioned too. Every breath you take invites God's presence deeper. Every exhale releases another piece of the tension you've been carrying. You do not walk through your nights alone anymore. You do not wake in the darkness unsupported. You are surrounded by the one who watches the night more faithfully than you ever could, the one who sees you in every fragile moment, the one who never steps away. Imagine Jacob stopping to rest at a small oasis, the shade cool over his shoulders, the ground soft beneath his tired feet. Imagine him closing his eyes and remembering the glow of heaven, the gentle movement of angels ascending and descending, the voice of God speaking with such tenderness. Imagine how this memory calmed him, how it stilled the fears that still flickered inside him. And beloved, the same stillness is given to you now, not as a distant idea, but as a present comfort, a warmth wrapping around your heart, a quiet steadying your thoughts, a softness settling into the places that once felt tight and breathless. You may have nights when fear returns, moments when your breath becomes shallow, when your heart begins to race, when 3 a.m. feels like a place of vulnerability. But the truth is different now. The night is no longer a place where panic reigns. It is a place where God meets you, speaks to you, holds you, and His presence reshapes the deepest parts of your experience. Panic may try to rise, but it will find you wrapped in peace. Fear may try to whisper, but it will find you surrounded by love. Anxiety may try to tighten your chest, but it will find your breath anchored in God. Jacob eventually found himself approaching the land of his brother, the place his fears had pointed toward for years. And though he still felt nervous, still felt unsure, still felt the old tremors beneath the surface, he was not the same man who had run into the wilderness. He was a man who had been met by God in the night, a man who had tasted peace deeper than fear, a man who knew he was held. And beloved, that same transformation begins quietly within you. You may still feel fear sometimes. You may still feel the tension rise in certain moments. You may still hear the whisper of worry, but you are not the same as before. Something in you is softening. Something is loosening. Something is being healed. For God is not interested in simply quieting your panic. He is interested in reshaping your heart, in becoming your refuge, your comfort, your resting place, your breath in the night. And as His presence settles deeper and deeper into you, the places where panic once lived begin to feel unfamiliar, as though they no longer belong, because they don't. Peace belongs there now. God belongs there now. His love belongs there now. And as He works, the night loses its threat. The darkness loses its weight. The quiet becomes a cradle instead of a battleground, For you are no longer waking to panic, you are waking to God's presence, a presence that steadies you, holds you, quiets you, protects you. And as Jacob journeyed onward, the memory of Esau's embrace stayed with him like a gentle melody, playing softly in the background of every step he took. It was a reminder that God had been working not only within Jacob, but also beyond him, in places he could not reach, in hearts he could not touch, in circumstances he could not control. And beloved, the same is true for you. God is moving in the unseen, shaping peace around you, preparing rest for you, softening what once felt unmovable. Every place that once frightened you is quietly being transformed by his kindness. Jacob had lived many years believing that the night would always be a place of danger, a place where memories pressed too close, where fear whispered too loudly. But God had rewritten that truth. He had turned Jacob's darkest hour into the hour of encounter, the hour of comfort, the hour of revelation. And beloved, God is rewriting your nights too. The hours that once held panic are slowly being filled with his presence. The moments that once woke you in fear are becoming moments where his peace settles like warm oil upon your heart, soothing, softening, comforting. There is a way God draws near in the night that feels different, tender, unhurried, as though he waits for the stillness so he can whisper more clearly, so he can hold you more gently, so he can calm you more deeply. And as you breathe now, slowly and softly, you begin to feel that tenderness envelop you, like a soft blanket pulled around your shoulders, like a warm hand resting quietly against your heart, like a gentle voice telling you that everything frightening has already been seen, already been understood, already been carried by him. Jacob came to understand that the night was not his enemy, fear was not the truth, panic was not his future, for God had entered those moments and filled them with himself. And when God fills a space, nothing unholy can remain in power. Panic loses its authority, fear loses its voice, anxiety loses its grip, because love casts out what once terrified the heart. And now, beloved, this same truth begins to sink deeper into your soul. The night is no longer something to brace against. It is something to rest within, because God is here. His presence rests beside you like a soft and steady light, illuminating the darkness from the inside out, not with brightness that startles, but with warmth that comforts. You do not need to stay alert. You do not need to brace for fear. You do not need to prepare for panic. The one who never sleeps is watching over you, guarding every breath, quieting every tremor, soothing every whisper of anxiety. Imagine Jacob sitting beneath a quiet sky, watching the stars shimmer above him. Imagine the gentle breeze brushing against his face. Imagine him closing his eyes and remembering the voice of God saying, "I am with you. I will keep you. I will not leave you." Imagine how those words wrapped around him like a shield, how they softened every memory of fear, how they became his resting place. And beloved, these same words are wrapping around you now, becoming your safety, your comfort, your peace. You may still have nights when fear tries to rise, when old thoughts stir, when your body remembers panic, even if your mind does not. But God is patient. He meets you again and again. He speaks peace again and again. He holds you again and again, until your heart learns a new rhythm, a quieter rhythm, a rhythm shaped by trust instead of tension, by rest instead of fear, by presence instead of panic. Let your shoulders ease. Let your hands loosen. Let your breath fall into gentle, steady waves. For the God who carried Jacob through his darkest night is carrying you now. He is closer than your thoughts, closer than your fears, closer than the trembling that once startled you awake. His presence is like a soft light glowing beneath the surface of your spirit, warming you from within, assuring you that you are safe, deeply safe, eternally safe. And though the night lies around you, the night is no longer empty. It is filled with God's nearness, His comfort, His watchfulness, His peace. And even now, as your heartbeat slows, as your breath deepens, as your mind drifts toward rest, His love is surrounding you like gentle arms, holding you, steadying you, guarding your sleep. You are not alone, not in this night, not in any night to come. The God of Jacob, the God of peace, the God who comforts trembling hearts, is here, and He will not leave you. And as Jacob settled into the land where God had led him, he began to understand something he had never known in all his years of running. Peace is not the absence of danger, nor the absence of uncertainty. Peace is the presence of God woven into every breath, every step, every moment of the journey. And beloved, that same understanding begins to settle gently into you now, like soft dew gathering on quiet grass, subtle yet deeply refreshing. Because the peace God gives is not fragile. It is not dependent on feelings. It is not easily shaken by the trembling of the body or the whispering of anxious thoughts. His peace remains steady, enduring, present in every hour, especially the hours when you feel most vulnerable. Jacob discovered that God's presence in the night was not an exception, but a promise that extended into every dawn, every sunset, every uncertain crossroads. And now, as you sit or lie quietly, letting your breath slow into a gentle rhythm, you begin to feel that same promise surrounding you. The night is no longer a place of fear, because it has become a place of encounter, a place of comfort, a place where God draws near, leaning close enough for His tenderness to settle into the spaces where panic once lived. You may not see ladders stretching into heaven or angels moving in quiet beauty, but the spiritual reality is no less true. The same God who opened the heavens for Jacob opens His heart toward you. The same God who whispered peace into Jacob's trembling whispers peace into yours. The same God who kept Jacob safe through deserts and dangers keeps you safe in your most fragile hours, even now, even here, even in the parts of the night that once felt too heavy. Jacob lived many years learning how to trust that presence. At times he forgot. At times he doubted. At times he let fear rise louder than faith. And yet God's mercy never withdrew. His presence never faded. His love never faltered. And beloved, God is just as patient with you. He does not grow weary of your fears. He does not turn away when panic rises. He does not scold you for trembling. He meets you with tenderness again and again, until your heart begins to trust His nearness more than it trusts the whispers of fear. You may wonder why panic often feels strongest in the early hours, when the world is silent and darkness wraps around everything. But the truth is that the quiet gives space for old fears to echo, for long buried worries to surface, for the heart to feel exposed. Yet it is in this quiet that God whispers the loudest comfort, not with noise, but with presence. A presence that sinks into your breath, warms your chest, loosens the tension in your shoulders, smooths the tremble from your heartbeat. And as you breathe slowly now, you begin to feel that presence wrapping around you like soft fabric, reassuring you that you are safe, you are held, you are not alone. Imagine Jacob lying once again beneath the night sky, long after his first encounter, remembering the promise that had carried him so far. Imagine how he no longer feared the darkness, because the darkness had become the backdrop of God's mercy. Imagine how the same stars that once watched over his trembling now watched over his peace. And beloved, these same stars, perhaps unseen beyond your ceiling, cover you with the same witness that God is near, that you are safe, that love surrounds you in the quiet. Jacob's life was full of moments that could have overwhelmed him, moments of conflict, moments of uncertainty, moments when the future stretched like a long road with no clear end. But the memory of God's voice, the nearness of God's presence, the warmth of God's promise steadied him. And now, this same warmth, this same voice, this same nearness begins to steady you. Not because your life immediately becomes simple, but because your heart becomes held, anchored, comforted in a way deeper than fear. You may still feel the softness of old anxieties rising at times, the body remembering fear long after the spirit has learned peace. But that does not mean you have gone backward. It simply means you are human, and God meets you in your humanity, not your perfection. He sits beside you in the night, resting his peace over you, the way a parent rests a gentle hand over the chest of a frightened child, reminding you with quiet love, I am here. No matter how you feel, no matter what whispers rise, I am here. The night is no longer a battleground. It is becoming holy ground, a place where God meets you with tenderness, where he calms your spirit, where he holds your heart, and where panic slowly fades in the presence of perfect love. And as you rest now, wrapped in this quiet, wrapped in his peace, wrapped in the warmth of a God who never leaves you, know that the night has already been rewritten, and fear has already been answered. You are safe, you are held, you are loved, and God is here. And as Jacob's life continued to unfold beneath the steady hand of God, he came to understand a truth that would carry him through every season, every uncertainty, every quiet hour of the night. The presence of God is not fleeting. It does not fade when feelings shift. It does not weaken when fear rises. It does not withdraw when the heart trembles. It remains gentle and constant, like a soft flame that never burns out. And beloved, that same flame is glowing within you now, warming the places that once felt cold, illuminating the corners once filled with shadows, reminding you that you do not walk through any night, past, present, or future, without the comfort of God beside you. Jacob grew familiar with this nearness. It became his companion during long walks across unfamiliar land, his comfort during restless nights, his strength when his body grew tired. And slowly, the weight he once carried began to feel lighter, not because the circumstances changed all at once, but because the presence of God had become the resting place of his heart. And now, as you breathe in this quiet moment, God is offering you that same resting place, that same gentle nearness, that same sanctuary where fear loses its voice, not through force, but through the soft persistence of love. There is something deeply sacred about the way God meets people in the night, when the world is silent, when distractions fade, when the heart is most open, most vulnerable, most aware of its own fragility. He steps into that softness with tenderness rather than urgency, with comfort rather than pressure, with a love so patient that even the most restless spirit begins to calm. And as you listen, that love surrounds you like a warm wind drifting through an open window, subtle yet unmistakable, soft yet strong enough to quiet the trembling inside you. Jacob had nights, even after the ladder dream, when fear tried to return, nights when his mind replayed old memories, nights when uncertainty pressed close. But each time, God met him again, sometimes through gentle whispers, sometimes through quiet reassurance, sometimes simply through the unspoken awareness of his nearness. And beloved, this is how God meets you too, not only once, not only in grand moments, but again and again and again. Every time fear rises, every time panic knocks at the door of your heart, every time your breath shortens, every time sleep feels far away, he is there, steady as ever, calming you with the same tenderness he offered Jacob in the wilderness. Imagine Jacob looking up at the night sky during those later years, recognizing the same constellations that once shone above his trembling, yet feeling no fear, only peace, only gratitude, only the quiet hum of trust that had grown slowly, faithfully, deeply. Imagine how the night no longer felt like something to endure, but something to rest within. How the darkness no longer brought memories of fear, but memories of God's faithfulness. And beloved, this same shift is beginning within you. The night is slowly changing from a place of alarm into a place of comfort, from a place where panic rose into a place where peace arrives like a gentle visitor. Your body may still remember fear, but your spirit is beginning to remember peace. Your mind may still recall moments of panic, but your heart is learning to recall presence. God does not rush this process. He does not demand that you never feel fear again. He simply stays with you until fear loses its power, until panic no longer startles you awake, until the night becomes soft again, holy again, restful again. Jacob's later years were marked by quiet moments of reflection, moments when he looked back and realized that every step of his journey, every fear, every night, every trembling hour had been held by God. He saw that God had never abandoned him, not once, not for a breath, not for a heartbeat. And beloved, the same is true for you. Every night you trembled, God was beside you. Every moment panic seized your breath, he was near enough to steady it. Every time your thoughts spiraled, he was present with compassion rather than judgment. Not one moment of your fear has ever been unseen. Not one tear has ever gone unnoticed. Not one trembling heartbeat has ever been ignored. Let yourself sink into that rhythm. Let every breath be a reminder that you are not alone. Let every quiet moment be an invitation to rest deeper in God's presence. Let every soft beat of your heart feel held by the one who formed it. For you are safe. You are protected. You are surrounded by love. And when the night grows quiet, God is nearest of all. He is here, and you can rest. And as the years passed for Jacob, he began to understand the gentle truth that every night held a purpose, not to frighten him, not to expose his weakness, but to reveal the faithfulness of the God who accompanied him through every shadow. Each quiet hour became a woven thread in a larger tapestry of trust, slowly strengthening his heart, slowly softening his fears, slowly teaching him that God's nearness was not an occasional gift, but a constant presence, a presence that held him in youth, in manhood, in old age, in every trembling moment between. And beloved, this same presence holds you now, steady and warm, letting these words sink deeper into your spirit like soft rain soaking gently into thirsty soil. Jacob learned that peace was not something he had to chase. It was something he had to receive. And as he grew older, he realized that peace often arrived in the quiet moments between breaths, in the stillness when he stopped striving, when he let his heart simply lean into God's care. And beloved, peace is arriving for you in the same way, quietly, slowly, like a gentle tide washing over the shores of your mind, loosening the tightness in your chest, smoothing the sharp edges of worry, warming the cold places your fears once touched. There is no effort in this peace, no pressure, no demand, only the soft invitation to rest, to breathe, to let God carry whatever has weighed you down. The night used to be a place where Jacob felt exposed, uncertain, vulnerable. But with time, the night became a sanctuary for him, a place where he remembered the God who had found him in his deepest fear, a place where he could close his eyes and feel the warmth of that promise. I am with you, still holding him like a gentle embrace. And beloved, your nights are slowly becoming sanctuaries too, places not of panic, but of presence, places not of alarm, but of assurance, places where God meets you the moment your breath trembles, the moment your thoughts begin to swirl, the moment your heart reaches for comfort. You do not have to pretend you are unafraid. You do not have to silence every anxious thought. You do not have to be perfect to receive peace. God draws near to the honest heart, the fragile heart, the trembling heart, the heart that wakes at 3 a.m., wondering why fear came without invitation, the heart that longs for rest but finds it hard to hold, the heart that wants to trust but sometimes forgets how. He draws near not with sternness, but with tenderness, not with correction, but with compassion, not with demands, but with comfort, resting his love gently upon you, the way a soft blanket rests upon weary shoulders. Imagine Jacob in his elder years, sitting quietly beneath a sky he had crossed countless times. Imagine the wrinkles around his eyes, carved by years of laughter, tears, and long journeys. Imagine him looking softly toward the horizon, remembering the night God visited him in his youth, and whispering to himself that simple truth: surely the Lord is in this place, even when I do not feel him. And beloved, let that truth whisper through your own heart now. Surely the Lord is in this room. Surely he is in your breath. Surely he is in your fragile places. Surely he is nearer than any fear that ever touched you. Panic may have visited you in the past, startling you awake, leaving you breathless, leaving you wondering if something was wrong within you. But God is rewriting those memories, slowly transforming each one with his nearness. Every fearful night becomes an opportunity for him to hold you. Every trembling breath becomes a moment for him to steady you. Every anxious thought becomes a canvas for his peace. He is teaching your heart a new rhythm, softer than fear, deeper than anxiety, stronger than panic, a rhythm of calm, a rhythm of trust, a rhythm of divine companionship. And as your breath slows again, as your heartbeat settles into a gentle pattern, as your body sinks deeper into rest, God surrounds you without hurry, without noise, without judgment, simply with presence. Sweet, steady presence. Presence that warms the coldest corners of your spirit. Presence that softens the tightness that once lived in your chest. Presence that speaks peace, even without words. For sometimes the holiest comfort comes not through instruction, not through reasoning, but through the quiet assurance that you are not alone in the dark. So breathe once more, softly, deeply, slowly. Let this moment become a sanctuary. Let this night become gentle. Let your thoughts drift like leaves floating on a calm river. Let your heart feel the warmth of God's nearness, as though he were sitting beside you, watching over your rest, guarding your peace. For he is. He truly is. You are safe. You are blessed. You are cradled in his love. And the night holds no fear for a heart held so securely. And as Jacob's life neared its final chapter, he often found himself reflecting on the countless nights that had shaped his journey. Nights when fear had once gripped him so tightly he could hardly breathe. Nights when loneliness felt like a shadow pressing against his chest. Nights when he lay awake wondering whether God still saw him, still guided him, still held him. Yet every single night without fail had become a place where God whispered comfort into the deepest parts of his being. And beloved, the same sacred pattern is unfolding within you now, gently and slowly, like dawn spreading across the quiet edges of the world. Jacob had lived many seasons: youth, struggle, labor, fatherhood, reconciliation, aging. And through each season, God's presence had woven itself into the fabric of his days. But it was in the night hours that Jacob learned the most about God's heart, because the night strips away distractions, invites stillness, reveals the truth of what we carry. And in those vulnerable hours, God becomes not just a distant idea, not just a story, but a companion, a presence, a refuge. And beloved, in your own nights, God is revealing himself to you in the same quiet way, in the softness that settles over your thoughts, in the warmth that begins to rise in your chest, in the slow, gentle easing of your breath. You may not always feel strong. You may not always feel steady. You may not always feel unafraid, but God's nearness is not dependent on your strength. It is dependent only on his love. And his love does not waver when you tremble. His love does not withdraw when you are anxious. His love does not diminish when your breath grows shallow. He draws nearer, not farther. He wraps himself around you, not away from you. He holds you with tenderness, not disappointment, for he knows the fragility of the human heart, and he honors its softness with infinite gentleness. Jacob remembered that first night in the wilderness over and over as the years went on. He would recall the gravel beneath his head, the chill of the desert air, the ache of loneliness pressing against him, and then the sudden warmth, the unexpected beauty, the light of heaven opening above him, the softness of God's voice speaking into the sharp places of his fear. He remembered the way his racing heart had steadied, the way his breath had slowed, the way peace had settled over him like a cloak. And every time he remembered, that same peace rose within him all over again. And beloved, the same peace is rising in you now, even as these words float around you like a quiet breeze. Peace that softens your heartbeat, peace that warms your ribs, peace that moves gently across your thoughts like a hand stroking the surface of still water, peace that tells your body it is safe, peace that tells your mind it is held, peace that tells your spirit it is protected by a love that does not falter. Jacob came to realize something profoundly comforting. The night was never the problem. Fear was never the problem. Uncertainty was never the problem. The real problem was forgetting that God was always there. And beloved, every moment you remember God's nearness, every moment you let your breath carry his peace, every moment you allow your spirit to rest in him, you reclaim that sacred truth. You are not alone. You have never been alone, not in the brightest days, nor in the darkest nights, not in the moments you felt strong, nor in the moments you felt fragile. God's presence has held you through it all, gently, faithfully, tenderly. Imagine Jacob in the later years of his life, sitting in a quiet tent, the lamp flickering softly beside him, the night air cool and gentle against his skin. Imagine him closing his eyes and breathing deeply, letting the memories of God's faithfulness wash over him like waves of warm light. Imagine the peace that settled into his bones, the gratitude that filled his chest, the soft certainty that he had been cared for through every step. And beloved, that same certainty begins to settle into you now. A certainty found not in your circumstances, but in God's unwavering care. Jacob's life ended with peace because he lived long enough to see that God had been faithful in every season. And beloved, you are beginning to see that same faithfulness even now, even in the quiet of this moment. God is faithful in your trembling, faithful in your breathing, faithful in your resting, faithful in the gentle healing unfolding inside you. Let this peace continue to wash over you, slow and warm and steady. Let your spirit sink deeper into the awareness that you are protected, you are cherished, you are surrounded by love, and no matter what the night brings, you are never alone. Not for a breath, not for a whisper, not for a heartbeat. God is here, and His presence is your peace, your shelter, your rest. And as Jacob's memory faded gently into the currents of time, the God who held him did not fade. His faithfulness continued flowing through the generations, touching hearts in the quiet, soothing souls in the dark, comforting every trembling one who reached for him. And beloved, that same eternal faithfulness is touching you now, wrapping around you like a soft embrace, steadying every part of your spirit that once felt fragile beneath the weight of fear. There is a tenderness to God's presence that becomes clearer in the night, a sacred nearness that seems to whisper more gently when the world grows still. And as you rest here, breathing slow and soft, you begin to sense that nearness, the way a child senses the presence of a loving parent even through the dark. You don't have to see Him to know He is here. You don't have to feel perfectly calm to trust He is close. His presence does not depend on your steadiness. Your steadiness depends on His presence. Jacob learned this truth in the wilderness, and it stayed with him through every season. The truth that God draws close to the trembling, the weary, the uncertain, not because of what they have achieved, not because of what they understand, but because of who He is. A Father who does not abandon, a shepherd who does not lose his sheep, a healer who does not turn from brokenness, a comforter who finds his way into every quiet hour where fear once lingered. And beloved, He has found His way to you, gently, patiently, lovingly, sitting with you in this quiet space, breathing peace into the corners of your soul that were once tense and guarded. He is here, easing the lingering tremors of old panic, smoothing the ripple patterns of old thoughts, speaking softly into the places that longed for reassurance. Imagine Jacob's children, hearing their father recount the story of that sacred night, the ladder rising into the heavens, the angels drifting like streams of light, the voice of God breaking through the silence with words of love. Imagine their eyes widening as He described the warmth of that presence, the way it soothed his fear in an instant, the way it wrapped around his heart like a warm blanket on a cold night. And imagine Jacob looking at them with a gentle smile, telling them, "The same God who comforted me will comfort you." And beloved, that same God comforts you now. He is the God of your nights, the God of your breathing, the God of your trembling, the one whose voice still whispers, "I am with you. I will keep you. I will never leave you." Those words are not ancient echoes. They are living truths, whispering through this moment, settling into the deepest parts of your spirit. You may have faced nights where fear rose like a wave, sudden and overwhelming, nights where your breath quickened before you understood why, nights where you felt small beneath the weight of thoughts you could not silence. But those nights did not break you. They did not define you. And now they are slowly being healed, gently transformed by the God who turns panic into peace simply by being near. Let your breath deepen once more. Slow, calm waves rising and falling in your chest. Feel the invisible arms of God around you, holding you with a patience that never tires, a compassion that never runs dry. You do not need to cling tightly to Him. He is already holding you. You do not need to fight for peace. Peace is already flowing toward you like a warm tide, slow and steady, softening your entire being. Jacob spent many nights looking back on that first encounter, realizing that God had not only comforted him, He had changed him. Fear no longer rooted itself as deeply. Panic no longer dictated his steps. Uncertainty no longer threatened his sense of belonging. Because once a heart has been held by God, it begins to trust in a new way. It begins to rest in a new way. It begins to breathe in a new way. And beloved, your heart is learning now. Your breath is slowing. Your thoughts are softening. Your spirit is easing into a trust that doesn't come from effort, but from being held deeply, securely, tenderly. God is not waiting for your fear to disappear before He draws near. He draws near to make your fear lose its strength. He covers you until the trembling fades. He surrounds you until your breath deepens. He stays with you until panic has no space left to speak. And even beyond that, He remains, because His love is not a visitor, but a dwelling place. So rest now in this holy quiet. Let God's presence cradle you like soft light. Let your breath settle into a rhythm of peace. Let your heart release the last fragments of fear. You are safe, you are held, you are deeply, entirely loved. And the God who stayed with Jacob through every night of his life stays with you now, and will stay with you through every night yet to come.
And long after Jacob left this world, long after his feet stopped tracing the dusty paths of the wilderness, the one who held him continued holding every heart that turned toward him in the night. For God's tenderness did not end with Jacob's story. His comfort did not retire into history. His nearness did not remain trapped in ancient pages. It moves still, softly and surely, through every generation, reaching into bedrooms where restless hearts lie awake, reaching into minds where old fears echo, reaching into bodies where trembling rises without reason. And beloved, that same eternal nearness is wrapping around you now, drawing close in a way that feels like breath, warming cold hands, gentle and patient, and profoundly real. There is a quiet work God does in the night, a kind of healing that does not rush, does not demand, does not overwhelm. It moves slowly through the soul like moonlight drifting across a still field, softening, soothing, silencing the noises inside the heart. And as you rest here, breathing gently, slowly, your spirit begins to feel that work, like a warm tide rising around your ankles, like a soft light expanding in your chest, like a gentle hand smoothing the lines of worry from your thoughts. God is shaping peace within you, not by force but by presence, by simply being with you, as steady as breath, as constant as love. Jacob learned, over many years, that God's faithfulness did not depend on his success or his strength. It remained even when Jacob stumbled, even when he feared, even when he doubted. God did not love him less on the nights when he could not sleep. He did not withdraw from him on the nights when his heart raced. He did not scold him on the nights when trembling overcame him. Instead, he drew closer, closer to comfort, closer to steady, closer to whisper reassurance in the quiet places Jacob tried to hide. And beloved, this is how he responds to you as well. He does not ask why you tremble. He simply holds you until the trembling quiets. He does not ask why you fear. He simply surrounds you until fear loses its power. He does not ask why your breath quickened. He simply breathes peace into your lungs until your body remembers safety. Imagine Jacob, older now, sitting beneath the canopy of night one last time, the stars glowing like scattered embers, the wind warm and kind. Imagine him remembering all the nights that once frightened him, all the nights he once dreaded, all the nights he once braced against. And then imagine him smiling softly, because those nights had become witnesses to moments of holy comfort. The very hours he once feared had become the hours God met him most intimately. And beloved, this same transformation is unfolding in you. The nights you once feared are becoming nights of peace. The hours that once held panic are becoming hours filled with God's nearness. The moments that once stole your breath are becoming moments where your breath deepens and steadies under His gentle care. You may not notice the change all at once. It may come quietly, the way dawn arrives without announcement, the way spring softens winter, the way healing settles into old wounds. But each time you rest in God's presence, each time you breathe deeply and feel His warmth around you, each time you allow His peace to touch the corners of your soul, the night loses a little more of its old weight, the panic loses a little more of its grip, and love gains a little more room inside you. Let your breath soften again. Slow, warm exhales that feel like surrender. Gentle inhales that feel like receiving. Feel the way God's presence begins to rise through your body like soothing water. Feel the calm spreading through your shoulders, easing the tightness there. Feel the warmth settling near your heart, loosening the tension that lived beneath your ribs. Feel the quiet gathering around your thoughts like a soft blanket. You do not have to fight anything in this moment. You are in the arms of the one who never lets go, who watches over you without blinking, who guards your rest with tenderness deeper than oceans, who holds your spirit with a patience that outlasts every fear. Jacob's story is a reminder whispered through time that God meets us in the dark not to frighten us, but to comfort us, not to test us, but to strengthen us, not to expose us, but to embrace us. And beloved, this very moment is one of those holy meetings, a moment where heaven leans close to your fragile places, a moment where God rests His presence over your fears like a blanket, a moment where you are reminded that your nights are not yours to face alone. So rest, breathe, let your spirit sink gently into peace. You are safe in the hands of a God who never leaves. You are held by a love that never breaks, and the night, once a place of panic, is becoming a place of healing, becoming a place of peace, becoming a place made holy simply because He is here.
And as the story of Jacob flowed quietly into the fabric of eternity, his nights, once filled with trembling, became a testimony whispered through generations, reminding weary hearts that God draws closest when shadows fall, that divine comfort settles deepest when human strength feels small, that the Creator of the stars does some of His gentlest work beneath their glow. And beloved, that same gentle work is touching you even now, like warm light moving into the corners of your spirit that once knew only fear. There is a softness to God's presence that the world cannot imitate, a tenderness that slips into the quiet places within you without force, without urgency, without demand. It moves like a slow breeze through an open window, brushing against your spirit until something inside loosens, something tight begins to release, something weary begins to rest. And as you breathe, you feel that softness settling over you now, wrapping around your chest, warming your breath, reminding your heart that it is safe, deeply safe, in the arms of a God who sees every tremble and stays anyway. Jacob had once believed that his fears disqualified him from God's nearness, but each night proved the opposite, that God moved toward him because he was afraid, because he was uncertain, because he needed comfort.
And beloved, God moves toward you for the same reason, not because you have earned peace, but because you long for it. Not because you never tremble, but because you do. Not because you are strong enough to face the night alone, but because you were never meant to. You are His beloved, and He comes to you in the dark, the way a parent comes to a child's bedside, quiet, compassionate, steady, present. Your breathing may have once quickened in the night, your heart pounding in ways you could not explain, your thoughts rising like sudden storms. But even then, even in the moments that felt frightening, God was near. Now, as your breath softens, you can sense that same nearness moving gently, like a warm tide rising slowly around your ribs, smoothing every tremble, quieting every whisper of fear. This is not your imagination. This is the comfort of a God who has watched over you long before you knew His name. A God who has listened to every unspoken prayer. A God whose presence fills the room like sacred stillness. Jacob learned to recognize that stillness, a stillness not dependent on silence, but on nearness, a stillness that settled into him like a second heartbeat, slow and steady. And beloved, that stillness is beginning to move through you, each breath drawing it deeper, each exhale letting go of something old, something heavy, something that no longer belongs in a heart held so gently. Let the night feel soft around you now. Let the darkness feel warm instead of cold. Let the quiet become a sanctuary instead of a threat. For God stands within this moment, tender and attentive, guarding your rest the way He guarded Jacob's, holding your heart the way He held Jacob's, whispering peace into your spirit until your breath moves like calm water again. This is holy ground, beloved. These quiet minutes are sacred. Every inhale is a prayer, every exhale a surrender, and God is here in all of it. You do not need to fear the next moment. You do not need to analyze the past. You do not need to prepare for what might come. God is not asking you to carry anything right now. He is asking you only to rest, to breathe, to feel His presence the way a soft blanket feels across your shoulders, warm, steady, trustworthy. So let your hands relax. Let your shoulders sink deeper. Let the muscles around your ribs release their hold. Let your thoughts drift like gentle leaves on a still pond. You are safe. You are held. You are deeply loved. And the God who comforted Jacob in the darkest hours is comforting you with the same eternal tenderness. You can rest now. You can breathe easily now. You can surrender to the peace that is wrapping around every part of you. God is here, closer than your pulse, closer than your breath, closer than the memory of fear, and His nearness is all you need. And as the memory of Jacob's long journey lingers like a soft echo through time, we begin to understand that his story was never only about ancient paths or desert nights. It was about the tender way God accompanies a trembling soul, the quiet way He enters moments heavy with fear, the gentle way He turns restless darkness into a resting place. And beloved, that holy tenderness is surrounding you even now, flowing through the quiet of this moment like warm oil, soothing a weary heart. Slowly, gently, patiently, the presence of God begins to fill the spaces where old panic once lived, softening the tension that curled inside your chest, loosening the weight that settled behind your ribs, calming the breath that once rose too sharply. Jacob learned in the wilderness what every anxious heart eventually discovers, that God knows the language of trembling. He knows the meaning behind every tight breath, every racing heartbeat, every whispered prayer that barely forms on the lips. He understands the fear that arrives without reason, the heaviness that wakes you before dawn, the thoughts that spiral in the quiet. And He does not wait for the perfect moment to draw near. He comes exactly when you feel most fragile, when your breathing stumbles,
when your spirit feels thin, because it is in those moments that His comfort becomes most needed, most tender, most unmistakably real. Imagine Jacob in one of his many nights, sitting beneath a sky that stretched wide above him, hearing the rustle of desert wind, feeling the quiet settle around his shoulders. Imagine how the memory of God's voice, "I am with you, I will keep you, I will not leave you," rose within him like a warm flame, guiding him through the dark. And beloved, that same voice rises within you now, quieter than thought, softer than breath, steady as the heartbeat of heaven itself. A voice that speaks not to your mind alone, but to the deepest part of your soul, reminding you that you are not alone, not abandoned, not unseen. You may remember nights when your heart pounded without warning, when fear surged like a sudden storm in your body, when the darkness felt heavy. But those nights are slowly losing their power, not because you forced them to, but because God is rewriting them, turning old memories into places of healing, transforming fear into quiet trust, letting your spirit learn a new rhythm, slow, warm, steady. His presence fills the room like a soft glow, and you can feel it now, resting over you like a deep breath, settling after a long sigh. It moves through your thoughts like a tender whisper, smoothing what once felt jagged, quieting what once felt loud. Every time your breath deepens, every time your shoulders ease, every time your thoughts soften, you are experiencing the gentle nearness of God. And as you lie in this quiet moment, He draws even closer, surrounding you with a peace that feels almost like light, like warmth, like quiet hands holding your heart with infinite care. You do not have to fight for calmness. You do not have to chase rest. You only need to allow this presence, this holiness, this softness to settle deeper and deeper into you. Jacob eventually learned to welcome the night instead of fearing it, because he discovered that darkness was simply another canvas for God's comfort, another place where peace could rise, where breath could slow, where his heart could be held. And beloved, you too are beginning to feel that shift unfolding within you. Whether your eyes are open or gently drifting closed, the night is no longer a threat. It is becoming the quiet room where God sits beside you, where He hushes your fears, where He smooths the trembling from your breath, where He wraps your soul in warmth so gentle it feels like love resting directly on your skin. So breathe softly again, slow and tender. Feel the peace of God expand within your chest like warm air rising. Feel the stillness gather around you like a soft quilt pulled to your chin. Feel the safety of divine presence wrapping you like strong yet gentle arms. You are not facing this moment alone. You are surrounded, guarded, and cherished by the one who never sleeps, the one who watches over you with love deeper than oceans, the one who whispers peace into your spirit until the last tremble is quiet. Let your heart rest now. Let your breath sink into peace. Let the night feel holy instead of heavy, for God is here, and His nearness is your shelter, your comfort, your calm, your rest. And as the gentle story of Jacob's nights continues to unfold within your spirit, the presence of God begins to feel less like an idea and more like a warm atmosphere surrounding you. Soft as candlelight, steady as breath, close as the beating of your own heart. You can sense it now, settling over you with a peace that moves slowly, like dawn drawing itself across the sky, touching everything with quiet brightness. Every thought, every breath, every hidden corner of your soul begins to feel warmed by this holy nearness, soothed by it, cradled by it. And beloved,
This is the very presence that dissolved Jacob's fear, the very presence that steadied his trembling, the very presence that can calm every anxious place within you. Jacob had once believed that fear belonged to the night, that darkness was a companion to anxiety, but with time, with years of walking beneath the same stars that once witnessed his trembling, he learned that fear does not own the night. God does. The one who shaped the constellations, who draped the heavens across eternity, who breathes life into every quiet hour. He is the keeper of the night, the guardian of the resting soul, the one who sits beside you when the world falls silent. And now, as you inhale gently, you can feel the truth of this settling deeper, like warm sand embracing bare feet. You may remember nights when panic rose like a tide that would not recede, nights when your thoughts ran faster than your breath, nights when the quiet felt too loud, too deep, too full of shadows. But even in those moments, God was near. His presence hovered above your trembling, watching with compassion, waiting for the moment your heart cracked open enough for him to step in with comfort. And now your heart is opening, not through force, not through effort, but through rest, through surrender, through the soft awareness that you are no longer walking these nights alone. Imagine Jacob, years after his first encounter, older, gentler, wiser, lying beneath the open sky once again. Imagine him feeling the coolness of the night air brushing across his skin, hearing the faint sounds of desert life settling into sleep. Imagine the memories of that heavenly vision rising within him like warm embers glowing in the dark. And in that memory, he smiles, not because his life had been simple, but because his heart had learned what fear could never teach him. God is here, even when I do not feel him, even when my breath trembles, even when the night stretches long. He is here. And beloved, that same truth is pressing softly into you now, not as a distant thought, but as a present comfort, a gentle awareness that even when fear once rose loudly, God's presence rose louder. Even when panic startled you awake, his love held you through the trembling. Even when your breath faltered, he breathed peace through your spirit. And as you rest in this moment, your heart begins to feel what Jacob felt, that the presence of God is not fragile, not fleeting, not conditional. It is steady as the earth, warm as the sunrise, tender as the hand that wipes away tears. Let yourself feel this warmth now. Feel it rising slowly through your spine, settling into your shoulders like soft hands easing tension, flowing down your arms like gentle water, resting behind your ribs where old fear once lived. This warmth is not your imagination. It is the breath of God touching your inner world, healing the places panic once claimed, bringing peace to the spaces where your spirit felt tired. And with every slow inhale, you are receiving more of it. With every long exhale, you are releasing old trembles that no longer belong in a heart held so deeply. You are safe, beloved, more safe than your mind has ever known, more safe than your fears can comprehend. For the Maker of the night is sitting beside you, guarding your rest, quieting your heart, and holding your soul as tenderly as he held Jacob's beneath the infinite sky. And now, as your breath settles into its softest rhythm, let this final truth rest inside you like a gentle blessing. You are not alone in the night. You never were, and you never will be. For God is here, now, always, lovingly, endlessly. Let this peace wrap you completely. Let it soften you. Let it rest you. Let it love you into calm.
And as the quiet around you deepens, as though the whole world has taken one long, peaceful breath, the presence of God continues to move gently through your spirit, weaving warmth into every place that once felt cold. You may not even notice when the shift happens, when fear loosens its grip, when the breath becomes easier, when the body begins to settle into safety, but the shift is happening, slowly and tenderly, the way morning light slowly lifts the night from the edges of the earth. God works in this same slow and holy way, not rushing your heart, not forcing your peace, but letting it rise like warm light through the windows of your soul. Jacob, in his final years, understood this kind of gentle transformation. He knew what it was to lie awake in the dark and feel fear pressing like a weight across his chest. He knew what it was to wander with questions that felt too heavy for one man to carry. He knew what it was to feel small beneath the vast and silent sky. And yet he also came to know what it meant to be held by the one who made that sky, the one who knew his fears before he spoke them, the one who saw his trembling before he tried to hide it, the one who comforted him not because he was strong, but because he was loved. And beloved, you are loved in that same way, gently, endlessly, fully, not because you never fear, but because you do, not because you stand unshaken, but because you tremble, not because you always rest easily, but because you long for rest. God meets you not at the peak of your strength, but in the softness of your vulnerability. And the night, which once felt like a place where you had to fight alone, is becoming the place where God comes closest, where he sits beside you with quiet compassion, where he steadies your breath with invisible hands, where he whispers peace into your inner world until the last echo of fear grows faint. You may feel your thoughts drifting like slow clouds, no longer sharp, no longer rushing, no longer demanding your attention. This is the settling of the Spirit, the holy quiet that comes when God rests his presence upon you. Imagine Jacob feeling this same quiet in his tent, listening to the soft sounds of the night, letting the memory of God's voice, "I am with you, I will keep you, I will not leave you," wash through him again and again. Imagine how that memory became a pillow for his weary heart, a blanket for his anxious thoughts, a comfort deeper than any fear. And now that same comfort is swirling around you like soft wind, touching your temples, warming your breath, loosening the last bits of tension still held within your body. There is nothing you need to fix, nothing you must overcome, nothing you need to prepare for. God is doing the holding now. God is doing the keeping. God is the one steadying your heartbeat, quieting your nervous system, calming your inner world with a love you cannot outrun, cannot exhaust, cannot lose. Let your breath fall into an even slower rhythm now, smooth as gentle waves curling upon a warm shore. Feel the way your body responds to this softness, as though every muscle knows it is finally safe to unwind. Feel the way your spirit leans into the comfort, as though it remembers something ancient and true, that you are made to be held, made to be loved, made to rest in the nearness of a God who never lets your soul slip from his hands. Jacob's greatest discovery was not the ladder into heaven, not the angels ascending and descending, but the truth that God was closer than he ever imagined, closer than the ground beneath him, closer than the breath within him, closer than the fear that once shook him. And beloved, God is that close to you now, nearer than pulse, nearer than breath, nearer than thought. His presence is the warmth you feel blooming through your chest, the softness that calms your mind, the peace that settles like feathers drifting onto quiet water. If a fragment of tension still lingers anywhere inside you, let God breathe over it like a warm wind across a chilled meadow. If an old memory tries to rise, let his presence dissolve it into quiet light. If your heart flutters with the faint echo of old fear,
Let his voice whisper through your spirit, steady and soft. I am here. I am here. I am here. There is no hour of the night, no whisper of anxiety, no flicker of fear that can pull you from the safety of those words. And as your breath continues its soft rise and fall, as your thoughts drift toward the warm edges of sleep, let yourself believe, fully, simply, quietly, that you are wrapped in divine peace. You are surrounded by everlasting love. And the night, once a place of panic, is now a holy resting ground where God Himself keeps watch over you. You can let go now. You can rest now. You can sleep now, because you are held, you are safe, and you are profoundly, endlessly loved